The NES Classic Edition is as cute as it is easy to use, which is to say, it's extremely easy to use because it's extremely cute. You hook it up, you power it on, and then 30 classic NES titles are available right at your thumb tips. And those 30 games include multiple first installments of series that are still relevant today, like Super Mario Bros., Zelda, Castlevania, Metroid, among many others. Yeah, the NES Classic certainly earns its classic moniker, even if not every game is quite of the same home run caliber. Sorry, Ice Climber. I'll spare you the full list of games, but no matter how you slice it, the collection is impressive, even if it's not definitive, as there are some notable absences, like Metal Gear, DuckTales, and any Mega Man besides Mega Man 2, among others. Crystalus, anyone? I'm not the only one who wants it, right? But seeing as the entire package does retail for $60 US or $2 per game, that's pretty understandable. Now, just as important as the selection of games is how well those games actually run. And as one who's generally pretty sensitive to emulator imperfections, I have to say this might be Nintendo's best one yet, as the games look, sound, and most importantly play almost exactly as I remembered, with no egregious graphical artifacts, sound clipping, or input latency. But then I decided to hook up my 30-year-old original NES just to be sure. And as it turns out, although my memory was close, it wasn't as close as I remembered, with the NES Classic generally appearing much sharper and brighter, but also a little washed out when compared to the original NES. And while the sound is similarly crisper, it also sometimes bordered on just being a little bit harsh. But look, I'm not a super technical guy, so I couldn't say for sure whether these slight differences are due to the emulation itself, or if it's simply because the NES Classic's digital HDMI signal is clearer and less muddled than the original NES's analog composite setup. Either way, the differences are subtle and only really became apparent when played back to back. Otherwise, the games function practically identically. So just keep in mind that while it might not look and sound exactly as you remember, it's pretty darn close. Now, the NES Classic provides 3 different display options to ensure the games look exactly as you want them to. There is Pixel Perfect, which displays the games in a narrower aspect ratio, 4:3, which is the same aspect ratio as the games that actually appeared in back in the day, and finally, CRT mode, which adds a filter on top of the 4:3 aspect ratio to mimic the appearance of an old-school TV. And it's surprisingly effective, giving the games a softer look, and is closest to matching my memory of them, even if it can look a little odd at times, like when scrolling vertically in Super Mario Bros. 2. Besides the display options, the system arguably improves on the original games in one major way. You can now save, and at any time with up to 4 save slots per game. Yeah, that's pretty huge considering you couldn't really save at all in most of those games originally. And you can even lock those save states so you don't accidentally overwrite them. The presentation in general really couldn't be much simpler. You choose a game from the list, which you can sort in all kinds of ways, like alphabetically, by release order, or even which game support 2 players, and then you just, get this, play it. It's so simple. Almost too simple, because there's little else to the NES Classic beyond the bare necessities. It would have been nice if there were perhaps bonus features that provided some background information on these games to better contextualize their place in history. But alas, what you see is what you get. Now there is one other area that the NES Classic comes up short, literally, and that's in the NES Classic controller cord's length, measuring in at just barely 2.5 feet long, which means it's pretty much impossible to play the system without having the console sitting on the ground or on a table right next to you. So you might want to look into either a third-party extension cord or getting a really long HDMI cable, neither of which are really ideal options. Although, it does make the fact that there's no way to switch games without hitting the reset button on the console itself a little bit more palatable. Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch to consider that a benefit. One nice perk of the controller though is that since it uses the same connector as a classic controller, you can connect it to a Wii remote to use on your Wii or Wii U with any game that both supports a classic controller and can be played with just a D-pad and a few buttons. Overall, the NES Classic Edition is a well-made system that comes with some great games at a reasonable price. And most importantly, it runs those games well. The entire package harkens back to an earlier era, in a time before constant system updates and game patches. It just feels good to plug in a console and be playing a game in just mere seconds. Plus, it doesn't hurt that the entire thing is wrapped up in an adorable form factor that's small enough to fit in your pocket. But again, it's not perfect, with an absurdly short controller cord, lack of a controller shortcut for switching games, and an extremely basic presentation with no real bonus features. And yeah, I do wish you could download additional games to it too, even if what you get here is pretty darn solid, especially at that price. So all in all, I like the NES Classic Edition. Now would I buy it myself? Probably not, considering I already own most of the NES games that I care about in various forms, including on the original NES. But for those who don't, or maybe those who want to experience these classics for the first time, there really isn't a better or cheaper option, at least officially. Plus the thing is so gosh darn cute. Just look at it! Look at it! Alright, thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more on the NES Classic Edition and other things gaming too. Catch you later, bye.